Hey guys, it's Ryan here with HobbiesofaMan once again, and today we're going to be doing a mid-year review. This is kind of one of my staple videos. Every 3 months I do a review, and this one happens to be at the middle of the year, so it's a mid-year review. And I am going to add another part to the review where I'm going to talk about what I've been reading for the last 6 months, how that kind of ties in, because the other day my friend Darth Penn shared with me his reading review from Goodreads, and I thought it'd be an interesting thing to do it myself. And since I did the work, I might as well share it with you all. So yeah, this first half of the year, I've read a lot of things, a lot of variety, and most of it has been pretty good. I mean, most of the times that I've ever had issues with anything, it's been comic books, and it's been novels. And honestly, I could count those in with my 5 fingers. So it's not really that big of a deal. Nothing really truly comes to mind beyond Dragonflight, I think is what it's called. That one book that I tried to do that I DNF'd a while back. I honestly don't even remember what it's called. I am going to keep that book because I really enjoyed the illustrations. I just think the writing style was not for me. It didn't fit me. I didn't like how it sounded. And then in terms of comic books, The Least We Can Do and The Last Barbarians are probably the only 2 that I can think of that I really disliked. And honestly, I didn't really dislike them as much as I was sad that they didn't live up to the expectations that I had for them. There's a few other ones that I started to read that I then immediately decided to not read anymore because I was not interested in them. Something about the artwork or something about the story didn't work for me. But very few and far between. And in terms of manga, the only one that I can think of that just wasn't even bad, it was just not my taste, was the Dark Gathering volume that I just read this past month. And it's honestly something I'll still read. It's just something I'm not going to bother collecting physically since I can read it on the Shonen Jump app. So yeah. Now in terms of what I've been reading, I read 1 volume of comics, as in 1 trade paperback, which was the Usagi Yojimbo origin story, volume 1. This one was given to me by Darth Penn for Christmas, I think. And I really appreciate it. It was really nice. And I am going to definitely try to continue to buy this. Honestly, if they ever do a Humble Bundle, I'll probably go with that instead of buying them physically, just because it's kind of complicated to figure out what exactly I'm supposed to be buying and where I'm supposed to start or where to go. Even though Darth Penn has explained it to me a few times, it's just like I don't feel like going through the trouble of figuring out what I'm supposed to read, right? So, yeah, which is honestly why I usually only stay to specific storylines, indie type of comics, or, things that are only now serializing, right? So, yeah, I read 4 novels, which is actually not very many, but it's more than I think I've read in the last couple of years. So that's good. It was mostly Tarzan. It was, I think it was 2 Tarzan novels, 1 Star Wars novel, and 1 Western novel, which was Flint. And that was really cool because I got to experience a new genre, which is really, really awesome. I read 3 original English light novels. The first one was Reborn a Hero, Asher Merrick by Solomon Ignis. I really appreciate that he sent me this, and it was probably one of my favorite OELNs that I've read ever. Then I read Agahoshi After School Book Club. What's it called? I think it is just called the Agahoshi Book Club. This one was good. I liked it. I think the writing style is a bit slow, as in it takes a long time to get where it's supposed to go, but that is how he wants to write it, so perfectly understandable, perfectly all right with me. And then Our World's Magic, and I think I read volume 2, and I liked it, but I feel like it's going too slowly, as in maybe the best way for him to make this story work is to combine his whole story into an omnibus and then pay for some artwork for each of the volumes and a cover, and then have that all be like a special omnibus, maybe do a Kickstarter for it, I'm not really sure. But something like that would probably make... I got reincarnated, so I brought Our World's Magic with me to this other world. It would make that series a little bit more interesting, or maybe a little bit more digestible, I guess is the word, because it's really easy to enjoy and to consume, but it feels a bit too like there's not enough there. So it might make it difficult for people to buy it and continue to buy it, right? So yeah, and then I read 5 light novels. 3 of them were solo leveling novels, which were 7, 6, and 5, 5, 6, and 7. And I read 2 ace light novels. And honestly, I need to get back into reading light novels. I think it's something that I've been letting go to the wayside. And it's mostly because when it comes down to buying books, a light novel is a lot more expensive than a manga. Or actually, it's not really more expensive, but I feel like it is in the moment when I'm looking at something that's $10 versus when I'm looking at something that's $15. And usually it's because it doesn't feel all that special, because most light novel series are super long and I don't really get variety. And so I need to figure out a way to kind of change my thinking a little bit, make sure that I can focus a little bit more, and see if I can finish off some series so that I can kind of enjoy them a bit more. Also, I think that there was a bit of time where I kind of got bored of isekai because I was reading so many isekai light novels. And so I think that I've been refreshed from that. I think I'm going to be able to come back to it here soon. And I should have a lot of good light novels here for the second half of the year. So that's exciting. Then I read 159 issues of comic books this year. However, quite a few of them, I would say about 40 of them, were probably repeated issues. So I actually read more like 120 issues, as in 120 different issues, but I picked up an issue and read an issue about 160 times. I didn't really bother doing the math on that because I don't really care. What the point of this is to kind of exemplify how many times I pick up a book or an issue or a novel or whatever, and divide it into those subcategories just so I know. And then I read 94 volumes of manga this year so far, and it's actually a 3-to-2 ratio, almost exactly, which is kind of crazy. And that's because the second quarter of the year, I've been having a lot of issues with a reading slump, and so it makes it quite difficult to read manga, or honestly to read anything if I don't really feel like doing it. Maybe you wouldn't notice because maybe I read more manga than the average person, or maybe I read more than the average person in general, but for me, it feels kind of quite low, because if I remember correctly, last year I read about 300 volumes of manga, so I'm not even halfway there, and it's already past half of the year, right? So yeah, so I think I read 48 volumes of manga and 36 volumes of manga, and 58 and 36. Sorry, that was the correct number there. It's 60 and 40. So yeah, 94 volumes of manga total, and it was like 60 to 40, so that's 3-to-2. That's a pretty interesting ratio for quarter 1 to quarter 2, and it is because of that reading slump. So that's it for the reading review. Let's look at the manga collecting's goal kind of review here, and it's gonna mess up my titling sequence, but it doesn't really matter. It's fine. So my goals are usually, or actually always, to be consistent and to keep up. And yes, they do basically mean the same thing, but for a slight semantic difference, that they mean different things to me. Consistent means maintaining pace to collect old series that are either finished or are so far ahead, but come out so slowly that they're basically immobile, kind of like Vinland Saga. Like, yes, there's Vinland Saga volumes coming out still, but we only get one every year or so. And so for the vast majority of the time, it's almost like that series is finished, right? And so consistency means maintaining pace with those. And keeping up means staying on top of current releases. That's how I think about it in my mind. And so those are my main goals, always. There was a major issue that I faced this year, which is that Book Depository shut down. So my Spanish collection is basically dead in the water. There is no possible way for me to move that. I mean, yes, there is. I can buy books from Casa del Libro or from Agata or some other place, or maybe I can order them from Barnes & Noble. But the thing is that it's not the same, because I don't like buying in bulk. It's very difficult for me to make to have the patience, actually, more than anything, is to have the patience to save up a bunch of money and then use that money in one go instead of using that money in several small purchases across the time. It just feels better for me to do it. I get like a little bit more of a kind of like a dopamine release, I guess. Like I get more happiness from doing 4 small purchases than I get from doing one big purchase. And so that means that it's an inefficient system in terms of buying stuff. God damn it. Can you tell I'm an engineer? I'm fucking talking about optimizing and how something's optimal or not when it comes to fucking something stupid like buying manga, right? Okay. Sorry, that distracted me. Anyway, so yeah, the point is that it's not efficient, and I don't like that because it makes me waste money if I buy a bunch of small purchases from outside of the country, and then they have to come in and I get charged $15 shipping every time. But I don't have the patience or the desire to force myself to wait for a whole month, not spend that much money, and then save up a big nest egg and then use it for one purchase. It just feels worse to me than buying a bunch of stuff separately, and so it's very unlikely that I'll be able to get any manga from Spain anytime soon. So that means that my Isaac collection is stuck at 3 volumes. My Sunken Rock collection is stuck at 5. Green Blood, I got to start that collection and I'm never going to finish it probably. Grashross, I'm missing 3 volumes of that. Kingdom, I'm super behind anyways. And King and Ashura, I'm also immensely behind. Hopefully some of these get English releases at some point. That way I can kind of feel better about it. And that also means that my plans to collect all of Boichi's manga that I can is also dead in the water because I cannot buy anything, and most of them are from Spain. However, there is a little bit of a silver lining here, and that is that there was one series that I could have bought in English that actually cost way too much to buy, that isn't sold in Spain. However, it is sold in France, and I have easy access to that through Lyrica, and it'll cost about the same as a normal volume of manga, including shipping, including customs, including everything. And so I will be able to collect Rakia, the 5-volume series, although in France it's called Sanctum. And that'll probably be what takes up my money in terms of like what I used to spend on Spain. I'll probably end up spending on Lyrica buying 2 series, Sanctum or Rakia, and the second series is Ranking of Kings. There's other series that I'm interested in checking out, like what's it called, Kagune no Valkyrin. The Valhalla isekai one with the dude that's like a samurai or a centurion or something. And a few other things. Butterfly Mistress, I think is what it's called. Some other stuff. But it's pretty unlikely that I'll get around to that. I'll probably continue to collect Ranking of Kings and Rakia, and that's all I'm going to do. So I'm switching out Spain for France. And then there's a small kind of mild issue, and that's that I'm very unlikely to go to Mexico at all this year, which kind of sucks because last year during Christmas I didn't go, and that means that most of my Mexican collection is also kind of dead in the water. And I was expecting to go this summer, actually in a couple weeks. However, it doesn't seem like that's going to be possible. Maybe my parents might go. I'm not really sure. I won't have the opportunity to do so. And in general, my parents don't want to have us risk going there, because there's been an influx of violence on the roads between the countries, and also on the roads between states in Mexico. And my parents don't really want to, kind of deal with that, because since we do have American license plates, it is very clearly it makes us a target, right? And so it kind of sucks, but also I'd rather just not go and not deal with that possibility. And leave my manga there indefinitely, and it's fine. I don't really have a problem with it. It just kind of sucks a little bit for the sake of my collection. However, it is possible that my uncle might visit Laredo at some point, because he has to for his family reasons, for his wife. So if that ever happens, it might be possible for him to cross the border and then ship my books. I'm not really sure. I don't know. I don't really want to pay shipping, because even though where my family lives is about 3 hours from the border, and then it's another 6 hours to Houston. They still charge you international shipping. Like if you were going to New York, it doesn't change based on distance from the border. It's only purely based on weight and customs and stuff. And it just costs way too much money. So it's not worth it. So there's another kind of big issue here, which is that I'm stockpiling books at my grandma's house, and I probably won't end up ordering any manga from Mexico anymore anytime soon, because there's no point in stocking them there if I'm never going to actually go and get them, right? Or be able to go and get them. There is a possibility that I will be able to, but it's not anytime soon. It's probably not going to be until December, and even in December, it might not be possible. I might have to wait until the year after that or something else. Or if we go by plane somewhere, it might be possible, but then I have to pay for the fact that I'm taking up space, cargo space on the plane because of my books. So I don't know. It really depends. However, that's it for the issues and for the bad stuff. In terms of achievements, I finished collecting Crazy Food Truck. I started Boys Abyss. I finished No Guns Life. I finished Gunbird Sisters. I managed to get some Pokemon volumes. And now I only need 7 out of 10, which is great. I used to need 9 out of 10. And I removed Tista from my possible buying list because I realized that I'm mostly buying them off like hype. And I haven't really read Spy Family all that much. I'm not really sure if I'm going to love it. Even though I have 9 volumes of it, I haven't read them yet. I think I only read the first one. And so I think I want to become a fan of Spy Family before I decide to buy any of the other series. And also the fact is that it's available on the Shonen Jump app, so I have no rush to get it. There is no necessity in terms of having to get it. And it also would be better to save a little bit of that money and put it towards other series, right? So yeah. And then I bought a bunch of series that were not in my plans. So I got Juana and the Dragon Age 7 Kingdoms. That was a complete series that I got completely. So I bought 3 volumes of that. I got 3 new volumes of Infinite Dendrogram, which is great. I got 4 volumes of Her Majesty's Swarm. I got 2 volumes of My Best Friend's Sister Has It Out for Me. I bought 2 volumes of Oshinoko. I started collecting Horizon. I decided to switch from the Mexican edition to the American edition of Tokyo Revengers, and I got 4 more volumes of Beastars. So even though I didn't necessarily do the best at following my plan, I did grow my collection in a meaningful way, and so I'm quite happy with the results, even if they weren't exactly the ones I set out to complete, right? Which means I failed successfully. Nice. And there's also a few things that I missed out on. I also bought